Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this very special week. We're looking at one of the British greatest horror movies ever made, and it's just dedicated this week to that film. And of course we're talking about the Wicker Man. I'm dedicating the whole week to this film because this new release, this new box set, contains all three versions of the movie in 4K. We have the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and tonight is the final cut. So there's been different versions of the film. Because the film, when it came out, received some cuts, mostly for the British censors, but also obviously in the cinema, the films had to be a certain length of time when this sort of film come out. They didn't want them too long, so it got some cuts from that. And a lot of the time the film cuts were missing, but then eventually they were rediscovered and added to sort of like these films. Tiny little synopsis of the film. I won't go into too in depth with it because and when I do, I will not be repeating myself on the other two videos. So this is based on a island just off Scotland called Summer Isle, and there's a young girl reported missing called Ronan Morrison. And Edward Woodward stars as a Christian policeman, and he's come over from the mainland to investigate the missing girl. And when he arrives on the island, he's sort of greeted by the sort of local sort of harbour staff and stuff like that, are quite sort of like reluctant to let him come on the island. They're saying it's private land. And they treat this isle as a private land and under the control of the Lord of the island, Lord Summer Isle, was played by Christopher Lee. And Edward Woodward is sort of like having a look around, trying to discover the whereabouts of this young girl. He goes to Mrs. Morrison's shop, who she denies that this girl's her daughter and doesn't know her. And quite a few times he comes across this boundary where people meet and said, no, never, I don't know her, never seen her. But they're all lying because they have seen her. Because this isle is like a pagan kind of isle, and so they do a lot of sort of ceremonies to try and get a good crop and get good fruit and riches of the earth. And to do that, they make sacrifices. So Rowan's obviously been a sacrifice. I think every year they sacrifice a young girl into obviously a virgin girl into the ground, or a sacrifice, so they get a good harvest. And I believe the last year's harvest, which Rowan was sacrificed for, was failed. Because it's sort of like when you see him in the pub where he'd gone to stay, he's eating like all sort of canned food and he doesn't like it. And you can see throughout the film that they're eating food from cans, like fruit, like peaches and stuff like that, which is kind of bizarre for an island that's well renowned for its vegetables and fruit. But because of they had a bad harvest, that's what they're eating. So the film sort of draws on his investigation of looking for Rowan, and he discovers all these bizarre happenings that are going on, all these kind of like rituals and corn rigs and all these sort of really strange, bizarre things, which I absolutely love. I think it's great. I absolutely love the pagan religion. I think it's a very honest and sort of back to its roots and appreciating the land and the planet for what it is. And that's what the pagan sort of religion kind of sort of follows. It follows the earth and animals and stuff like that, which I kind of like really can see the benefits of that. And his investigation turns to more sort of like discovering things that have happened on this island that is not of the Christian nature, these sacrifices and things like this. And he sort of beholds and becomes somebody's written him a letter saying the girl's missing, because what they actually want, they want someone from the outside to come to the island so they can sacrifice, because the last year's failed from someone from the island, and their thinking is that if they got someone from outside the island, then this might help the harvest for the following year. And that's the sort of synopsis of the film. And the film is full of wonderful music and songs. It is a kind of musical sort of horror. There is a lot of singing and a lot of songs in the film, which are absolutely amazing. Very sort of British sort of folk style, which is really, really great. And it's got an amazing cast with Ingrid Pitt and the amazing Britt Ekland. And yeah, it's an amazing cast. So we'll have a little think about this one now, the final cut. Yes, there are some added clips into there, but they're very subtle. If you only watch the film a few times, you will not notice the added clips. But I've watched this film over 30, 40 times now in my life, so I can see the clips, and there is a little bit of change of the picture quality on the clips that are added, obviously, which is very, very normal. They're a little bit more grainy and a bit more blurred, but it's great to see these clips actually put in the film, and it's great to see sort of like that kind of thing happen. I do like that. I know there is a fair few films where it's done even really quite poorly, and it looks really strange, but this one is quite subtle, and you know, you just wouldn't really know it too much that this is an extra clip. That there's one clip where you see them sort of preparing the maypole, which isn't in the theatrical cut. It's all you see with the maypole is the lads dancing and stuff like that. Now, the picture quality of this film is fantastic on 4K. It's really, really cool. Yes, it's got some natural grain, and I believe it's one of the out of the three, it's the worst sort of looking one, just because it's like been played around with so much. And I really appreciated the look of the film. I think it looked fantastic. So if that's the worst, then I can't wait to see the other two. Yeah, so really, really great picture quality, really cool. The acting is superb. Great, great, great film. I'm not going to go too much into in depth through it because you've probably all seen it, and you know how amazing the film is. Negatives of it, none really. Just that I suppose the only negative is if you're expecting this, these clips that are going to actually change the whole focus of the story, you'll probably be disappointed with this version because it doesn't change anything to the story, and it doesn't really add a lot to it. It just makes it feel fuller. That's all. That's all I can say to it. But again, I'm going to score the film an essential watch and give it a 10 out of 10. It's one of the greatest films ever made, so I'm not going to score it any less, am I? But yeah, it's a great version of the film. This is on the first disc, and it stands on its own. The second 4K disc has the other two versions on it, and we're going to be looking at those a bit later in the week. So yeah, fantastic. Definitely excellent version of the film, and probably one of the best. It's probably one of the best looking versions I've seen of the film. It's really, really cool, and this is supposed to be the worst in the box set. So we'll soon find out when we review the others. Until then, check out some horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Manview Film, RS Design, Pizzawell, I'm the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and a massive shout out to my lad Lemon Lord, and a massive shout out to all of you on this Halloween, and hope you're having a great Halloween week. See you soon, guys.